Okay,
Great. Okay.
thank you. So, Pedro Lopes, do you have a question? Let me.
There's also a question in the chat. Please place your questions on the Q&A and not the chat, please.
Pedro, you have the floor. Can you please ask your question? Okay, so Pedro, please wait until some other time. So I was saying, please be clear on your intended use of software so that you can properly check if your claims are correct. The use of COVID sandbox is mandatory. So in your work plan and in your application form, please make sure that you address or you justify how you are going to use the sandbox. Which type of integration are you foreseeing, and make sure that your work plan is aligned with the goals or the goals of each sprint of COVIDX. Okay. These were the main issues, and you already know this slide. The main issues we found in Open Call 1. We kept this because the same issues appeared in Open Call 2. Okay, so please make sure, again, I cannot stress this enough, that your TRL level is properly addressed. Okay, your CEU marking is properly addressed. Okay, you need to go to the technical annex and probably and thoroughly describe your justification. And again, the integration with COVID sandbox. These were the main issues. Some teams were excluded just because they did not address this at all. Okay, some teams again were allowed to move on, even if the work plan was not detailed enough, but we gave them the benefit of the doubt, and more on this on the following slides. The work program that we foresee now is that we will make all the contracting procedures in the beginning of November. So the first sprint, because of Christmas and so on, will start in November and end in February, which is, I would say, 2 weeks over 3 months, which is the plan for the first sprint, 3 months, but we are allowing 2 weeks because of Christmas. The second sprint is from March to May, and the third sprint should end in August. But if you need some more time because of holidays, it can end in September next year. Okay, so there is a slack for Christmas and a slack for summer holidays if you need, and that will not be an issue for us. This is what we offer. If you want to ask questions about this, you already have the recorded webinars, so please go back to it. If you want to ask questions today, feel free to do so. These are the technical supports that we are going to have. So technical courses, training on the sandbox, and one-on-one support sessions on how to use the sandbox. The main purposes of these one-on-one support sessions is because all of you will have different types of integration, so you will need specific support, and we are able to provide it on a team basis approach. This is what we offer. You already know this. You will have access to, if you are a single solution, to a clinical site. You have data sets from the clinical side, but also a specialized mentor from each of our clinical partners. We offer for the team solutions tailored support for piloting and ethical issues. Our experts from the consortium will help you properly justify, for example, the anonymization guidelines, the ethical issues in terms of getting the ethical approval or the approval from the ethical committees, and so on. Sorry, my mouse is there. Again, this is the timeline that is provided on the guideline for applicants. What we would like to stress here is that these dates, 1 of October and 16 of October, are the end dates of these periods. So we will have the external remote evaluation finished by the beginning of October, and immediately in the first days of October, we will schedule the online interviews. And now the plan is to have them in the first week of October, but you will be informed of the detailed schedule for it. And by the end of October, as mentioned, we will announce the results. We were able to keep the timeline in the first stage, and everything is planned to make sure that we achieve the same goals. One quick notice here, and is that you receive the link which is in the final slide to make the application for the second stage, but it's a private link, so you need to be authenticated in F6S portal before it appears. So if you try to access and you are not yet authenticated, you will receive a page where it says that we are not accepting connections, and that's only because you are not authenticated. So again, to stress out that this is a project that is focused on results, okay? All the payments will be made after you achieve the results. So in total, we have 4 payments to make. The first one, once you deliver the KPIs that will be used to monitor your project by the end of the first month. And then 3 other payments once you complete each sprint. On the end of each of these milestones, there will be a review from the project to make sure that you have achieved the results, and then we will release the payments. There were some time issues on the first sprint of the first batch because not everyone understood that the contracts need to be signed before we make the payments, and that the deliverables must be accepted, and we expect to well, communicate better from our side so that there are no undue delays on this batch. In terms of frequent asked questions that we have been received, first of all, this is the link, and again, you need to be authenticated in order to access the link. You need to submit all the annexes in the correct format, and just one example is that when you write the values or the figures in the SME declaration, they must be in 1K units, so 1,000 euro units. Please make sure that you don't write the figures in euros, and all documents need to be properly signed. If possible, we encourage everyone to use fully qualified digital signatures and avoid using paper signatures. This will speed up the process for everyone. Again, like I said, we cannot stress this enough. Your TRL and CE marking claims need to be justified thoroughly. We will provide, we will prefer or select the applications that have better justifications or which leaves no doubts in terms of TRL and CE marking. And in terms of work plan, we suggest that you carefully review if your work plan is aligned with the goals of each sprint, okay? And instead of providing only the title of the activity, which may be misleading, provide at least one sentence describing each task. So if there are any doubts from our side on the title of the task, okay, that sentence should be enough for us to assess if the task is achieving the goals that we want. One example is that some of you provided in the first work plan one task which mentioned something related with the integration with the COVID sandbox in the first sprint. In some work plans, the title of the task was not clear for us if you wanted to achieve the integration on the first sprint or not. So this sentence will should remove any doubts that we may have. Okay. Most of these, if we have doubts and you still move to the online interviews, we will be able to clarify this on the online interviews. The major problem is that if we have doubts and you don't move to the online interviews, there is no way that you can provide further information. Okay. And this is it from our side in terms of slides. So if you have questions, please ask now. Pedro, you have your hand raised, so I will give you the floor to start this Q&A session.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and
Okay,
clear.
good. So my question relates to change of, from a single player to a team player, because in the meantime, we started collaborating with the hospital, and the project will be more valuable if you include that hospital. Is it possible?
This is something that is not anticipated in the guideline for applicants. So I would suggest that you write us a formal email on that, and the consortium will decide on it. But in principle, if it makes your solution more interesting or more valuable, I will not say now that we will accept it or not, but we will consider it for sure.
Okay, thank you.
We are talking about changing from a single to a team solution.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, exactly. Because conditions change in this time when we started collaborating with the hospital, and it makes more sense to include that hospital as well. So, but I'll write a formal email and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Related with this, so typically on these projects or these types of projects, the concepts evolve because the market changes. Even in a few months, some things may change, so you can pivot your project from the first application to the second one, achieving new goals and so on, but make sure that you don't deviate from the main purposes of the project. Okay.
Okay, definitely not. Thank you.
So if we want, maybe I can help you here in the Q&A box, Antonio.
I'm not, yeah, but please help me here.
Okay, so the first question is, which is somehow repeated, if applicants need to fill in the same field submitted in phase 1, and if yes, you can add updates or the content needs to be exactly the same.
For sure, you should have, please answer that, Rita. And then...
No, I was going to say, so the form is about identification, mainly has fields to identify the beneficiaries, the applicants. So I'm not sure what updates could be there. So it's the VAT number, the identification number, the teams are more or less the same.
Vamos começar o webinar agora, não é?
Não, já está.
Pedro, can you please mute yourself?
I will move.
Só que não me diga, espera, já entro.
I'm not sure. So
wait a second, Rita. I will open the microphone for Pilar. Sorry, Pilarino. And maybe...
Pilarino, can you further elaborate which updates would you need to provide? So filling in the form, yes, with the same information, but again, the form that you submitted was about identification of the members of the team, mainly. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Okay, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, fine, yes. Yes, my main question was whether we need to fill again all the fields, because I saw that I could add some text, or do we have to copy paste exactly what we have done in phase 2? That was the main question.
But which text exactly do you mean? Because
actually, when I opened the F6S platform for second phase, unless it's been changed, that was 2 weeks ago, I saw all the fields again ready to be filled. And
yes,
that was the main question.
So you shouldn't submit the same information again.
I shouldn't.
You should fill in
okay.
all the fields. So the form has to be filled in.
Okay.
So just to clarify why those forms are there, or those fields are there, sometimes, as in the business domain, things change. So if there are any changes in your team structure, in your address, and so on, this is the moment to update it. Okay, so that's why all the fields are there.
Okay, that's fine.
But to simplify your work, you can go to the previous application and just copy paste from the previous one if nothing has changed.
Okay, that's fine. And I suppose the same applies to the proposal supplement for stage 2.
The proposal supplement is different. Okay?
Yes. So please understand that the template is different, has additional fields, and it's longer.
Okay. And everything has to be filled. Okay, fine.
Yes. Antonio, there are also questions about the document. So the declaration of honor and the SME declaration, should it be signed again, or can they resubmit the same declaration from phase 1 if there are no changes?
Typically, they should be resubmitted, but as the time frame from the first application to the second one is so short, you don't need to make new documents, but you need to resubmit the ones that you have submitted. Okay.
I agree with that, but please make sure that the declarations are properly filled in. There were several cases where, as Antonio was pointing out, the numbers in the SME self-declaration are wrong, the numbers for turnover and return on investment or balance sheet. And there was also several declarations that were not signed, the declaration of honor, or not properly filled in. So with the checks on the conflict of interest declaration, please make sure that all the fields are properly signed and the declarations are properly filled in. If there are absolutely no modifications, then go ahead and just upload again the same from phase 1, but making sure that they are fully complete and signed. So there was here another question, Antonio.
I have opened the microphone for everyone, so we should.
But maybe let's go over the Q&A first. So Piralinu had another question, which is, I also wanted to ask if the interviews to define the points, or we need to pass again a threshold from phase 2, and then interviews will indicate the winners.
Yes, so we have received in both profiles more than 14 applications, which is the number of teams that will be invited for the interviews. So there is we will rank based on the evaluation from the external experts. We will select the 14 best teams to be interviewed. And after the interviews, we will select the 7 to be funded. Okay.
So again, not everyone that is applying for phase 2 will go to interviews. There will be an external evaluation before that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so from Rafael Shamir, do we need to re-sign the supporting legal document? So as we said, if they are exactly the same, no, but you do need to upload them again. Otherwise, the submission is not considered complete. Another question from the same person, under the open challenge track, to what extent we need to make use of the COVID sandbox in the project?
You always need to use the COVID sandbox, okay? It's a prerequisite of the call. Of course, we understand that there are different levels of integration. Borja is here. So Borja, can you please elaborate a little bit on these types of integration so that the applicants know what is possible?
Yes, for sure. Hi, I'm Borja. I talk on behalf of UPM. I'm from the whole technical team. There are 2 types of integration. The first one could be a data integration. It is exactly, it takes place when you have a team solution, because you need to, not need, but you should upload some kind of data into the COVID sandbox in the case that you are using the center deployment, the cloud-based version. And also there is another possibility that is to upload also some type of software solution. I mean, some type of algorithm or machine learning model or whatever that is related to the data-driven solution. And it should be also, it could be also uploaded into the sandbox to use the data from there directly. So these are the 2 types of integration, the data integration and the software integration. And there are 2 ways to upload this type of software. First of those is to use the GitLab repository. And the second one is to directly use a Docker container inside of a Docker registry. So I hope that it was clear enough. In case you have any other questions regarding technical aspects, please say so.
So Mabel had also a question on these sandbox integration.
Wait, Peter, please wait. So yep. Rafael, is this clear for you? Do you need?
Yeah, so in our case, as we're going as an open challenge, we collect our own data, and in terms of security concerns and data privacy protection, we had the preference to have everything done on the edge device, meaning the device that is being monitored with the person itself. So having that extra level of data breaches possibilities might implicate our proposal.
Just you mean for the communication phase?
Yes. So we don't have any Wi-Fi or an internet-based communication in our device.
There was some similar concern regarding the first open call applicants. There was a team that was using some kind of device. Indeed, it was the mobile phones. Their solution was to establish like a redirection inside of their own company, a server that just receives the message and sends them to our sandbox. So the communication
Okay.
from our side are done with secure protocol. We also use VPN and firewall. And internally, we use secure communications between the Elastic nodes. And also, we have encrypted writings into the memory. So in terms of security, we provide a full secure sandbox.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can use that as an advanced communication system between the patient and the health provider, for example.
Yes, but this should take place outside of the sandbox. We don't provide this type of solution. The other team that I was talking to you about created this type of service outside of the sandbox, and then the communication was done directly through this service.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, we can do like the whole analytics and send like a few small packets to say this is the level of that you should be in contact with a health physician, for example.
No, there's no need. You can provide a summary of machine learning results. You can provide, whatever result that is something that can have potential usage. It is fine for us. We don't need the actual data. We just need some data that can be useful.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Was it clear?
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, great. Still regarding this, Mabel, does this still also clarify your doubts about sandbox integration? Because you also had a question on this. Okay, it seems so. So I'll check that one. Rafael, you had a third question, which was, are there any special requirements for participant recruitment from the COVID-X consortia? Or is it up to the university we're partnering with? I'm not sure I understand this question. Do you want to clarify this?
Yeah, so we're, as part of our offering, we're looking to explore people who are positively diagnosed with COVID and to evaluate their cognitive decline or cognitive function impairment as part of this. And we were wondering if the COVID-X consortia or the program itself has any specific guidelines as to the recruitment of people or participants to be tested in the lab environment.
But Rafael, are you proposing a single solution or a team solution?
A team.
So the ethical guidelines and the ethical documents that you are going to submit to the consortium should address sorry, let me rephrase this. You will need to submit the ethical documents to the ethical committee. And in this document, you should be defining your rules, okay? The people from the consortium can help you, or the mentors from the consortium can help in defining these rules, okay? And we will for sure review the documents and make sure that they are okay. So, but it's up to you to define the guidelines to recruit patients and so on.
Or informed consent or anonymization of data or any issue related to that, as Antonio was elaborating.
And all the criteria to recruit patients for your study.
So there are no special added requirements from your side on top of the ethics committee itself within the university.
No, and all because the European regulations.
Yeah. So you need to comply with all regulations, but as you are working with a clinical partner, it's up to you and for your clinical partner to define those rules. Everything we need is that an approval from the ethical committee to make sure that you can proceed with your solution. Okay, so the point is, if you don't have approval from the ethical committee by the end of the first sprint, so you need to work fast in getting this approval. There is no point in going to the second sprint, okay, because you need approval from the ethical committee.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a question from Alessandro. Is it possible to have a more detailed evaluation of the first phase proposal in order to better understand the improvement areas? Shall I answer, or do you want to answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what we sent was all the feedback available. The feedback included some remark on the sub-criteria in each criterion. And by the remark in each sub-criterion, you know which areas to improve or which are the best ones or the ones that have the most room for improvement. And that's the only feedback we are able to provide at the moment. So if you see the different remarks in the sub-criteria, these give you an idea which are the areas that you should improve the most or not.
Is your answer, is this enough?
So
yeah,
this was the same question from Costa. So is this clear for you?
Yes, it is clear. So we understand we just we can't have more detailed feedback at the moment. We just need to focus on each criterion and try to elaborate more on the description.
Yes, exactly. So if you see a sub-criterion that says that this sub-criteria was well addressed, then you should be fine. If you see a comment saying that there are serious issues here, then you know you should focus on that more. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone else has an issue on this specific topic of feedback? Okay. Then we had a question from an anonymous attendee. Does this person want to identify themselves? We work with a group from a university that is in charge in a region or country to analyze epidemiologic data to detect the degree of spreading of each variant of COVID in that region. In a sense, they do not work directly with COVID-19 patients, but with phylogenetic data obtained. Are they a valid partner? In my perspective, they are not a healthcare provider, but Antonio, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the same. If they don't have direct access to patients, it's out of the scope of the project that we were funded for. So it will be
if they don't provide services directly to the community, to patients, or don't have to be patients, it could be prevention, then they are not considered a healthcare partner.
Alberto, can you help us here? What is your opinion here?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I think the same. So as long as it is not a healthcare provider, I think it is not a valid partner.
Okay. Then we have thank you, Alberto. Then we have a question from Laura. If we need to fill again the fields in phase 1 and in the template, and if you can add updates. So again, regarding the form itself, I don't think there's much room for update because the form is about PIC number, VAT, contact person. So the partners should be the same in phase 1 and 2. Regarding the template, the annexes, yes, you should. So as Antonio already pointed out, the template is different for phase 2. There are more fields to fill in. It's longer. It should be a 25-page document. So please go ahead and provide updates and improve the description of your solution for phase 2.
Thank you so much. I think I got the question, the answer a while ago. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Anyone else with comments on these? We had another question regarding, there is a section 7 in the, so applying as a single solution and saying there's a section 7 in the proposal where information about the clinical partners should be provided. Is this required only for the team solutions, or should we provide information about the predefined clinical partners who provide data for single players?
It's only for team solutions. So if you are applying in a single solution, you can entirely skip that section.
Okay. Then we had a question from Alessandro. Are the online interviews in which will be used pitch presentations a part of the evaluation process? Will the applicants be involved in online interviews? So we already answered that. So all the solutions, single and team solutions applying now for phase 2 will be evaluated by external experts. From those, a subset is selected for interviews, and then the interviews are part of the selection process. So not all the solutions going to interviews are selected for funding, okay? So this is a several stage, let's say, process. So you submit now phase 2, both the annexes and already the pitch presentation. Please be aware that you're also submitting the pitch presentation. The template is available. Then we do the evaluation. We select some for interviews, and from the result of the interviews, we select the ones for funding.
Rita, if I may add something here. So the purpose of the interviews is sometimes, or I would say, in all evaluation processes by external experts, they raise some doubts, and even from the consortium, we may have doubts in relation with the fit of the solution to the project. So the purpose of the online interviews is to remove any doubts that we may have. So it may be the case that after the interviews, we either confirm the scores of the external experts or we review them based on the information that you provide. So typically what you have to do in the interview is make a pitch of your project and then answer questions from the experts of the project. And based on this, we will make the final score of the applications.
So this can also be used to untie solutions that have the same scores by providing this additional information to the panelists, so to the consortium interviewing your application. Yeah,
that's one point, untie. And the other point is, for example, if the single solutions are potentially mapped with a clinical partner, that clinical partner may ask questions to check the feasibility of the integration of that solution in their specific infrastructure. Alberto was part of the interviews in the first round. Do you want to add anything on this?
Not really. I just want to stress that we will look into the, let's say, capacities of the team for the implementation phase. So we will look really into the work plan and the team that is behind the project. The technology will be evaluated or has been evaluated within the first phase and will be evaluated for the external experts. So we will really look at the possibilities of the implementation, the usage of the sandbox, and the business plan itself. So be sure that you go through the guidance for applicants and see what are we looking exactly in the interviews. Basically, as Antonio has mentioned, the interviews will last around 30 minutes per company. We'll have a 10 minutes presentation by the companies, will be fixed. So at minute 10, we will interrupt you in order to start with the questions. And questions will be based on 3 main areas. So technology, business, and implementation. So be sure that you stress everything in your slides. And also one important thing is that slides will not be, cannot be changed from the submission date until the presentation. So be sure that everything that you include there reflects the reality of the proposal, and that you include everything that you want to include.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you should, during the interview, you will have to use the same document that you are submitting now, as Alberto was pointing out. There's a follow-up question from Costas. If in the interviews, the clinical partners should be present in solutions.
Yeah, so basically, if you are applying as a team solution, what we would like to see is your proposal as a team solution. So for instance, that you include, well, that you have a representative from the text provider and a representative from the clinical partner. Otherwise, we cannot validate or evaluate the project as a team, and it will be somehow difficult for us to positively evaluate the involvement of the team behind the project. So it is strongly recommended that at least one representative from the text provider and that one representative from the clinical partner is attending the presentation.
Thank you, Alberto. Another question related to this is, do we need, from Pilarino, do we need or are advised to add video in the pitch presentation template? I would say no, but Antonio or Alberto, if you have a different opinion, please contradict me. That's fine, because you should really follow the template. And then, as Alberto was saying, you will be able to do the live presentation during the online interview. So you have 10 minutes to talk by yourselves. So I think you should stick to the slides and avoid using video, even because of the size of the file.
Yeah, so you do have 10 minutes, and in 10 minutes, you need to convince us that your project is better than the others that are presenting during the pitch presentation. So basically, if you want to spend some time by playing a video, it is okay, but will not be, let's say, better evaluated by us or the contrary. So it will be at least the time it needs to be managed by you, and it won't be an added value for us.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, Alberto. So a question regarding KPIs. As KPIs are detailed at the end of the first sprint, what level of detail on the KPIs of the second and third sprints is needed in the table in section 8.2?
Maybe I can answer that, because the better you define the KPIs, the better we can understand the work plan that you are proposing. Okay. Of course, we understand that after the project starts, you can have a better definition of the KPIs. If you are able to at least provide a draft of the KPIs that you are planning to do or to use to monitor your project, of course, we will understand better the scope of your implementation plan, and we'll be able to assess it better. So, okay. Does this answer your question? Is it clear?
Okay. Then we have a question from Fernando. In the new technical annex, there are also some items that are the same as before, but we provide more space. Do you expect that we extend such sections, or we focus on the new ones? Well, that's actually your decision, so to say. So if you want to improve the sections and have space for that, go ahead. But that's so the elaboration of the proposal in the technical annex is up to the applicant, what you do with the space provided. So what we provide is a maximum space per section. Do you choose to use the maximum space or not is up to you.
Yeah, so at this point, I would also want to say that the first phase was evaluated by the consortium, and that the second phase will be evaluated by external evaluators, that Rita has said before. So in that sense, if the external evaluators are always experts in different fields, so from technology to clinical to business and financial aspects, so they would like to know more about your, let's say, project, and they would like, let's say, as much detail as possible to better assess your project. So in that way, you can include what you have included in the first phase, but you need to consider that this proposal will be evaluated by different people.
Yeah, I would say this is a very important aspect that Alberto just raised. So please consider that while the COVID-X consortium read the first phase, so everyone is familiar with the project and the sandbox and probably with all the topics that you raised. That may not happen in phase 2. Of course, we contacted experts in the fields, in the technical fields, but that are not working in COVIDX project on a daily basis. So consider these when refining now your application for phase 2. We had a question for Costas. Is there a minimum on the headcount of the startup? Can we count subcontractors as part of the team? I would say there's not a minimum headcount, but I don't think subcontractors are considered employees of the SME when filling in the self-declaration.
It depends on the type of contract, but here the issue is, as Alberto mentioned, we will evaluate the team and make sure that the team is capable of delivering the project. So, of course, you can subcontract, but it needs to make sense. Correct, Alberto? So if it doesn't make sense, it's not useful.
Yeah, so I would say 2 levels here on this question. So one is the team to implement the solution. So as Alberto and Antonio were pointing out, you do need to have the resources to realize the work you're proposing. If we are talking about the SME self-declaration, then in the headcount, you should not count subcontractors as your own employees. They can be part of the team developing work, but they are not part of your company. So these are, if we're talking about administrative aspects is one thing, about the work is another, or the count. Go ahead, Alberto.
Yeah, and also you need to think that this type of project, that is single solutions, will be the combination between a tech provider and a clinical partner inside the consortium, and team solutions are a combination between a clinical partner and tech provider. So we are not looking for a big consortium between 3 companies, and that subcontracting task, it is not recommended. You can include some tasks as part of subcontracting if it doesn't add value to the proposal itself, but I would not recommend you to include, let's say, a big amount of subcontracting tasks, because in this sense, then the project will be carried out by 2 companies, which is not the ideal or the target that we have as potential applicants and beneficiaries in the call.
Yeah, so related to that, Fernando asked, in the team, should we expect to contract defining their roles?
Fernando, can you clarify
sorry, Rita, can you repeat? I didn't understand what you said.
Your last question was, in the team, should we include the people we expect to contract defining the roles? This was a question you asked, right?
Yes.
But okay, let's. Can you please elaborate a little bit more on this question, Fernando?
No. So if we plan to contract people to work in the project, so we include them already in the team. So, for instance, if we want to contract a developer, do we include that in the team? Just saying that we will contract him defining the roles, or we don't include that role in the team?
Alberto, your call.
Yeah, so the thing is that we will evaluate the team that you have at this moment.
Okay.
And that there won't be pre-financing allocated to your company. So if the contract depends on the project, it will be somehow difficult at least for you to manage the cash flow regarding the budget that we will provide to you and the timing that you need to pay to this developer. In this way, another thing that we will evaluate with your team is that you already have the capacity to, let's say, carry out the project, and or that you know what do you need to carry out the project, and that you have a plan to implement. So if you said, okay, we have a gap in, let's say, marketing, development, or something like this, and we know that, and we have a plan to solve this issue in the coming months, this would be appreciated as well.
Okay, thank you.
Is
But
it
this is
clear?
another important aspect because we are paying results. So as Alberto was explaining, if you depend on the finance to hire people, resources, then this will be problematic because we're paying after the sprint is delivered. And then this should be difficult to carry out the work. Let's see, I just wanted to, so I think we're going back to the sandbox again. There was a question from Juan Pablo. Do you ensure that any company proprietary software source code that could be incorporated with the Docker image to be integrated in the sandbox will remain inaccessible to other participants? What is the level of security you provide in this respect?
Borja, go ahead.
Yes, I will answer this one. Well, first of all, I would also like to remark that we provide a role-based access in terms of data. So only the team responsible for their own data can access their data, even if it is in a shared environment. And then regarding the software code, if you provide, for example, source code, this source code will go into the GitLab repo. The GitLab repo has private folders for each of the teams, so they are not shared. Then, in terms of the sandbox, we provide again some separated environments for each of the teams to control their own software. So none of the rest of the teams can see your software or enter in it or whatever.
Rita, before we move on, and Borja, Alberto needs to go out of this meeting. So if you have burning questions for Alberto, Alberto is leading the acceleration program. So do you have...
maybe I can here select. There was a question saying from Fernando, the pilots and evaluations should be limited to the clinical partners, or could it be done with additional hospitals? I don't know if you want to answer that, Alberto.
Yeah, so basically what we will evaluate is your project within the context of your selected clinical partner. If you want to make it broader and you want to have more pilots inside your project, this would be an added value for sure. But it is not mandatory under the code. So we are just asking for one project developing or carrying out one pilot in a clinical site. If you want to make more, it will be better for you, but the amount of grant will not be extended.
And so if you are a team solution, the contract is only signed with the SME and one clinical partner, not more. So the team solution can only have 2 beneficiaries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let me just see if there was another one. Here, Mohammed asked, we have applied for the single solution, but the data that we used in our proposal is not common in the 3 healthcare providers you mentioned. So is it possible to define our data acquisition protocol in the single solution? I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I believe that they don't have to use the data from the 3 healthcare providers. They should select one. Am I right, Alberto?
Yep. Let's ask Mohammed to clarify his question, okay? But I don't think this is a question for Alberto. It should be for Borja. So, Alberto.
Mohammed, are you on the call?
He is, and the microphone is open. Alberto, thank you so much for your presence.
Okay. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you.
If there are any follow-ups, then we'll let you know and try to answer later.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So
please clarify your question.
So I'm going back to the sandbox. I think we answered the security, but we had here related questions. So Rafael also asked again, do we need to fully integrate by the end of the first sprint, or can we present a full integration by the end of the program?
Well, integration is not like a status that can be achieved in one phase. It is like an iterative status, because what we mean with integration in the first sprint is that we need to ensure that you can use the APIs, that in the case that you are using some piece of software, it is already integrated, at least that you know how to deliver some kind of software inside of the sandbox, because we use continuous integration and continuous deployment. So it is not just an objective related to the fact that all must be done at this point, but just that it can be, or that we know that you can use it. So for example, in terms of data, if you have several patients and you keep adding new patients and the data is being collected at that time, of course, we just need to ensure that if you are going to upload this kind of data, that you know how to upload the data and that some of the patients are already inside of the sandbox. But of course, we cannot request from you all the data that will be collected in the future. So this is the kind of integration that we are talking about. Was it clear enough?
Was it clear for?
Yes, it was clear.
Okay, thank you so much. Danny also asked, can you explain a bit more in depth what you're looking for in the sandbox implementation? I guess with the provided data sets is to use them for building the solution, but what about the injection of data to building models? Is it the final model you want, or is it only to use the sandbox tools for data validation?
The purpose of the sandbox is to provide some technical infrastructure to help you with your solution. I mean, we don't want you to have or we don't want to have an exam or test your solution, but just for you to achieve some of the desired results that you explained in the KPIs, and that's all we need. But we are not going to test your solution. The machine learning model is not going to be used by us. It is just like a tool for developing all your solutions. So that's all.
Is that clear?
Okay, yeah, that's clear. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So are there any further questions regarding the sandbox itself that you want to ask now directly?
No, not for me at least. Like everything is here. So at the end, it's just like, if I understood well, Borja, it's just like the way that you're giving us to build our tool. Everything is going to be private, secure, and you want to be able in the first sprint that we provide that we're able to do it, and then during the last month that we actually use it.
Yes, that's it. For example, for the first evaluation of the first open call applicants, what we did is to ensure that they were able to ingest some data into the database. And in the case of software, the same, that they were like, they could use the Jenkins, that I'm not sure if you know about it, but is the software we use for. Okay, so it is more or less this way, the way we proceed.
Okay, perfect. And do you need deliverables for that? Do you need, for example, that the first sprint we deliverable, like, I don't know, like a demo patient with an API on top and things like that, or?
Sorry, can you elaborate more on this, please?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, if we don't have the data, because the data, for example, for us is going to be coming this second sprint, then in the first sprint, we give you a demo patient that we use the sandbox already with that patient and that we provide this deliverable in the first sprint.
For the moment, what we have been doing is creating some kind of strict mappings in terms of Elastic, just that all the indices are have the same structure. We provide it beforewards ingesting the data. So then what we need from you is just to insert some kind of data and to know that you are able to use the APIs in terms of data. That's all.
Borja, if I may help here, so in the end of each sprint, you need to provide a report with the activities that you made so far. So in that report, you must include the results that Borja was mentioning. So you will be doing some technical work. You need to make some proper, have evidence that that work was done. Of course, that the technical team will help you in achieving those reports, but it does need to be reported how it was tested and give us evidence that it was done. Okay, and the purpose of that is that we need to also report to the Commission that we have made the payments because you have achieved the results. Okay, so the reports here are paramount. So you will be working with the technical team, collecting evidence and include them in the reports of each sprint.
So you do a deliverable at the end of each sprint, and then this deliverable is evaluated by the team, the COVIDX team, and then the payment is done.
Is it
Okay.
clear?
Yeah, that's super clear. Thanks very much.
Thank you. We have here, we had the comment from Jose Maria Sunico. I am the anonymous. Could I elaborate just in case? Jose Maria, do you have something to add or to ask?
Yeah, thank you very much for this webinar. It's really clarifying many aspects. I wanted to go into my further question. I have the tick of anonymous somehow put there. So the point is that, and I'm very surprised because we don't receive any feedback in the evaluation summary report about this, because our clinical partner is the one in charge in a region of country of actually analyzing all epidemiology data to actually, from the patients, detect which variants of the virus are spreading in that specific region, and they collaborate with the National Health Authority also. So we need that data, but the department in charge in that region in Spain is not a hospital, it's a department of disease, infection diseases, and public safety of university. Right, so they do not really directly work with patients, but they analyze the data that comes from these patients. So I want to be very sure if they can be a clinical partner or if we need to switch to a single applicant version.
Okay, let me clarify this. So we had some doubts in this proposal, and you decided to move forward. But I think we need to check this further in this week, okay? To make sure that we fully understand the scope of your proposal. And okay, let's. Yeah.
We already. I think we sent you an email to try and discuss about this, because, of course, at the very least, I don't want to have the actual clinical partner working for nothing.
Okay, so Jose Maria, two issues. First, as you can understand, it's not easy to verify if a clinical partner is indeed providing services or not. So we have guidelines, and we expect applicants to comply with those guidelines. That being said, we of course want to help. So I would suggest if you would please send an email to info@covidx.eu as soon as the webinar is over, and then me and Antonio will try to address these as soon as possible so that we can clarify this. Is that okay?
Okay, perfect. That's okay. Could you repeat the email, please?
info@covidx.eu.
Okay.
It's in the feedback email that you received. It's also there, the address. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we have now a question from Maria. We have our product completely functional and regulated. We are wondering whether to develop or not new technical functionality for the product. Would new developments on the product may be included in COVID-IT? So I'm not sure if I understand the question, but you are the ones defining your solution and what the solution includes. I don't know if you want to elaborate on this, Maria.
Yes, sorry, I didn't write it correctly, the question. So this is, we have our product already functional and regulated, and we are wondering if we want to develop and include one more functionality that will be very interesting for the project, but we don't know if this developing task can be included under the implementation part, if it can be included as a task and as a KPI, or we can just include technical development regarding the sandbox and the clinical implementation of the pilot test.
Rita, do you mind if I answer this?
No, sure. Go ahead, Antonio.
So if you are developing a new functionality on your product, in principle, the TRL of your product will decrease, okay, because it's new. So you need to properly justify to which level the new functionality will bring your product down. Okay, so if you are fully qualified, you are either at TRL 8 or 9. If you are inserting a new functionality, depending on the functionality, of course, this is we don't have details on the functionality that you are adding. It may be something that is completely out of the scope of the medical device regulation, or it may be inside that scope, so we don't know that. And it may lower the TRL of your product. So be clear on what you want to add, if it lowers or not the TRL, if it affects the CE marking or not, and write or describe thoroughly that on your application form.
Perfect.
This is based on the information that you are providing. This is all we can say at this point.
Perfect. It's perfectly clear. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Then we have a question from Thanos regarding CE marking. Would it be possible to quantify what you mean by close to achieve certification? For instance, if one expects a CE marking application to be made soon after the completion of the project, having collected validation information, is that within the scope? Do you want to answer, Antonio, or shall I go ahead?
You do it.
Well, what we said is that for solutions that don't have CE marking, that you should include a plan to achieve it. And what we mean is then try to detail the activities and the timeline to achieve the CE marking. When are you collecting data and doing field tests and applying for the certification and so on? Because if you just write, we don't have CE marking, but we intend to get it, that doesn't really bring that much information. So we expect to see activities and an idea of a timeline when these activities will occur so that you go for the CE marking and successfully apply for it. Does that answer the question, or does anyone have a follow-up on these? Okay, then we have a question from Fernando. If you are applying as a team solution, please include concrete references to the data sets provided by the clinical partner applying to the program. This data set refers to the actual data set obtained in the past or to the data set that will be obtained during the project. I don't know if Borja or Antonio, if you want to answer, go ahead.
I would first like to ask Fernando to please clarify the questions. But you're not allowed to speak. Now you have the microphone open. Fernando, can you please elaborate a little bit more on this question?
Yeah. The idea is that in the application, in section 2.2, how do you plan to integrate the COVID-X sandbox provided by the COVID-X consortium? They tell that if you are applying a certain solution, please include concrete reference to the dataset provided by the clinical partner applying to the program. So it is talking about to the dataset provided by the clinical partner. So it seems that it is like a dataset that that was obtained in the past. But for me, that does not have much sense. So I understand that what you ask here is how we will integrate with what data sets we will obtain in the future. Is that right?
Can I answer this one, Antonio?
Yes, Borja, please.
So what we are referring to is that we need to know what kind of data are we going to ingest into the sandbox in terms of for the legal aspects of course, but also to know for us which type of data, because for example, we don't support audio files or video files. So it is just a description of the dataset because we want to know this type of definitions.
Okay, so you're talking more about the metadata, not the data itself.
Yes, it is not, for example, it is not that you give to us exactly what is the data that you're going to store, just a description of it, the fields it may be of interest, and all of these metadata valuable things that we may need just to know what type of data is involved in your solution and so on.
Okay, thank you, Nat. It's much more clear.
Thanks.
Okay, Danny.
Thank you. We have a question from Danny. In the TRL, we justify why we were the set TRL with examples of use cases, but it was said that we need to improve it. What else are you looking for? So in TRL 7, which is the minimum we are looking for, it's stated system prototype demonstration in operational environments. And then from then onwards, I would say that it would be helpful if you can include, for example, in how many sites it was validated or how many users were using it for this validation to achieve TRL. So such details help us understand that there was really validation in the field, in an operational environment, or if it was integrated somehow with any other system. Does that help?
Yeah, are they useful as well? Because we actually said it, like how many hospitals and things we were working with. Is it useful to provide proof of it? Like I mean, I think that we have like some press conference and things. Is it useful, that one?
Yes, you can provide that information, but one thing is providing a general statement saying we are working with this and this hospital. Another thing is saying the solution was validated in this hospital by these many users or these many doctors or whatever are the user groups.
Okay, clear, perfect.
Okay. I don't have any other questions in the Q&A box. I don't know if anyone has any questions that they want to.
There was one question that we didn't answer from Mohammed, but the person is not on the call so far. But for the sake of speed, because we are well overdue, I would ask anyone that has questions to raise the hand in the participant list so that we can answer it.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes, go ahead, please.
It's just about the work packages, because this is new, I think, in this COVID-X, in this. What we actually like put the work packages and the activities and the deliverables. What are you looking for in this? Because we also need to improve, and we thought that we did okay. So like just like in general guidelines, because maybe we missed something. Or
so you have 3 sprints to work with. So you should divide your work in the 3 sprints and make sure that they are aligned with the technical achievements and business achievements that we are expecting on each sprint. The way you organize your work packages is up to you. You don't really have guidelines on that. What we need to understand is if you have a plan, or if your work plan is consistent with the objectives that you are proposing in terms of technical work and in terms of business development. Okay, so this is what we need to look into your work plan. Additionally, we ask for KPIs, and we actually give one example of a KPI. You should define high-level KPIs to monitor your progress. And again, as mentioned before, this will help us assess the feasibility of the work plan. Okay.
Okay,
is
perfect.
It clear?
Yeah. Do I need to say who from the team is working in Google package, or that is too much?
That is too much for now.
Okay. Perfect.
If you can, it's okay. But and that really maps with the structure of the team. Okay, so we will not be doing that mapping, but we will look into your team description to see if you have all the resources inside. So if you do that mapping, it eases our burden. If not, I think that is at this stage of our planning. Okay.
Okay, we will try to do it though. Thanks very much.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, great. I think you can close this.
Yes, so thank you, everyone. Good luck. Remember the deadline. It is fixed, 16th of September, 5 o'clock Central European summertime. Good luck to all. We're looking forward to receiving high quality proposals from all of you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And
thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.